one of the things that we have to be very careful of is we say that if we are in a conscious community, you say that you're not trying to be like, you're not trying to be like the normal people who buy into America and buy into the culture. So you say that you have either African culture, you say you got Hebrew, Muslim, whatever culture that you have. But I think that we as a people, we buy into the American concept of the quote-unquote self-made man. So in other words, and somebody put me onto this years ago. So in other words, the self-made man, self-made woman, they basically start out with nothing, and they get support from the people, and they build themselves up and become successful. I think that we buy into that, but we buy into it in the movement. So in other words, like a dude, rarely a woman, but a dude will come through and say, I have the right answer, I have the concept, I just need help. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that triggers those of us who still buy into the American culture of the self-made man and say, let's help this person to become successful, because if you help him become successful, I'm going to be successful. And then you have what's called also trickle-down economics in America. So we have trickle-down economics in the conscious community too, in the struggle. And we say, if you help the leader, then the leaders eventually, his blessings will fall down on you. It's the old concept from the Bible where Jesus said, if I be lifted up, I draw all men unto me. So we'd be like, yo, you know what? If you lift up this brother or this sister, then eventually you become successful yourself. We have bought into that and not even really realized it. So when people come to us with the Messiah complex, I'm going to make this movie, it's going to solve everything, or I'm going to build this business model, it's going to solve everything, or whatever it is that they come to us with, what that does, I believe, in my heart, psychologically and spiritually, is it triggers the same old desire for us to see a self-made person become successful that we could cheer for, and we convince ourselves that that person is going to be benevolent enough to turn around and give us crumbs off the table. But the reality of it is that what we find is that never happens. And so that when that does not happen, then you see the fracture of the group, and people start taking shots saying, well, I always knew that Negro was a crook. Oh, you did? You mean like 5 years ago you knew that? Or no, maybe you knew it 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I really believe that plays a part in it, that there's still a lot of cultural things that we picked up in this country that we have not tried to shed and get rid of unless we have been exposed to somebody that talks the way the BAIO talks and really talks nationhood, which is more of a black African collective concept than the self-made millionaire or the self-made successful person who's going to say, I'm going to get you guys to help me, then I'm going to turn around and be a dictator and portion out and parcel out what I'm going to help you out with. I just think that we really need to turn around and look at ourselves and ask ourselves, is that what we're part of? Because you can see on Facebook and social media, there's still quite a few of these dudes that's out there that people are following. Including kind of a couple of years ago, man, where because I come into the movement, and my coming in the movement, I come under quote-unquote leaders, and or leader, I should say. And my minister, who was under that particular leader, was always trying to get us to be thinking and individuals, not necessarily as in break away from the group, but to think for yourself and think of the best way to contribute to the group. And the group itself that we were part of we kept trying to get you to think as just a zombie and a clone. And so I came to the conclusion that, good, bad, or indifferent, the group itself and the leader of the group were really trying to get you to stay under their particular leadership, because basically if you did, they continued to build their war chest and sustain not only them, but, man, what I found out was to sustain that person's family. So I think that this kind of model, unfortunately, is being duplicated all over the conscious community. And the funny thing about it is that when when social media became pervasive and a lot of people began to get in contact with each other who normally wouldn't be in contact with each other, it seemed like the overwhelming majority of people out there wanted to say, well, we're not going to be like this group, we're not going to be like that group, we're not going to be like this leader or that leader. But it seems like so many people have popped up just like the ones that was using us that we can't even tell the difference anymore. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it seems to me that you have to make, or we have to create, or have the guts to create a homogeneous group of men and women with a strong core in it. Not necessarily that everybody's going to come under this core, but these core gentlemen and women are going to be the ones who are going to make sure that the principles of the group is upheld and that nobody deviates from the overall mission. But other than that, it's your group, it's our group, and we're all putting our resources together for one common cause, as opposed to we're all putting our resources together because we got to help the leader.
Right.
And that's my thoughts on that for now.
Yeah, or help some little individual get whatever they're doing going.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what it seems to be. It's like our forces and our energy is scattered all over the place. Because when one individual decides, well, you know, I want to start a school. One individual decides, you know what, I want to do a movie. One individual decides, oh, I want to do some type of project or something. And so each person is saying, well, why don't you give to this? Why don't you give to that? And nobody is working together to accomplish anything collectively.
Right. Right.
And this is the reason why I'm totally against making money off the struggle.
Right.
I really am against it. I think that we need to have that as a principle, because when you have people that make money off the struggle, they have no interest to change the situation.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason why what you said, when some people can come in criticizing the established leaders who they feel are hustling the people, but then when they get on and they get popular, they turn right into the same hustlers.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because because the only real answer, the only real solution is nationhood. If you don't have that as your answer and your solution, then the next solution is, how do you set up your individual hustle? So you come up to the people, you come to the people with all of these highfalutin concepts and ideas of white supremacy and how we be in this and we be in that. But at the end of the discussion, what is it? Give to this organization, give to this whatever, so that I can do this and I can do that. It's never nation. I'm going to give you a story that pretty much sums up where I'm at.
Okay.
When I was in my 20s, me, my cousin, Mac, you know Mac 611?
Yes, I do.
A couple of other friends, we all got together. We was listening and basically just absorbing in this information in the so-called conscious community.
Right.
And we came to the conclusion that, wait a minute, you got the Hebrew Israelites, you got the Nation of Islam, you got the 5% Nation, you got the, I think Dr. York was out at that time, the Ansar Allah Muslims and all this other stuff, the Moors. You had all of these different factions and all these different groups. And in our naivete as young people, we said, wait a minute, all of these groups admit in one way or another that the problem is that white dude. Now they may have like a different histories for how this came about or where he came from and all that other, but the basic premise, they had a common denominator that the white guy was the problem. So we said, well, wait a minute. If that's the case, why don't we get these groups together? Because they can, that's their common denominator. We can work off of that. That one suggestion, that one thought that we had as young people basically transformed my entire life. Because when we went to get these groups together, we realized an ugly truth. These groups are not about anything but themselves.
Profound.
And it really was an impactful lesson to us, because we came in with this naive notion that people are actually trying to empower our people.
Right.
When in actuality, what they are is basically, I mean, to put it in layman's terms, they're like drug dealers. They have their block in the community, and you don't mess on my block, I won't mess on your block, and we'll carve this thing up and we can all get paid.
Right.
The concept of them getting together to actually solve anything, they never intended to do that. And that was a real painful lesson and a painful admission for us to deal with, but it was so necessary for us to take it to the next level, which was nationhood.
Right. Absolutely.
You know,
and
nationhood is the solution.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that, Brother Hollop, because I'm gonna tell you something. I actually grew up, brother. I grew up as an Israelite. I grew up as that, and then I actually became a guide body 5%.
Right.
And there were certain tenets that both were strong on, but even when I was growing up as an Israelite, nobody was talking about infrastructure, economics, and things of that nature. Nobody would touch those topics. Okay.
Right.
So there was something lacking there for me, even way back then as a youth. I knew there had to be more to this struggle than just, talking about this, that, and the third, and then of course having these, with the 5% and the God bodies, having these ciphers that would last for hours on end with no ad infinitum into that. We'd be building to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and come away the same way we got there. You know what I'm saying? So, again, the important tenets were never mentioned. So this is why something like this is definitely important.
We need to get people who's used to putting principles above personality, and that's a big problem in our community right now. Like recently, everybody's talking about Umar Johnson and SETI and their beef.
And SETI going at it, right? Yeah.
And I said this in a video of mine. I said, everybody seems to be concentrating on personalities and who's real and who's not real. And I asked the question. I said, let's say, I'll use Umar Johnson as an example. Let's say that Umar Johnson is real. We've come to the conclusion that he's real. So what? So what? Let's say we come to the conclusion that he's not real. So what?
Right.
How is his realness relevant to us as what we have to do as a collective and a people? See, we get caught up in these individuals thinking that they're bigger than they actually are. In the grand scheme of things, when it comes to nationhood, which is very broad, very ambitious, and something that all of us are a part of, what one individual does is really irrelevant to it. It's entertainment. People, like I saw people watching the video of Umar Johnson going off, and all of the hypocrites in the comment section say, "Oh, this is a shame. You brothers should be working together." Yet the video has over 170,000 views. So obviously he's doing that. Drama is something that people are attracted to.
Right.
Because I don't have a video on my channel that has 170,000 views.
Right. No, I hear you.
And it's all solution-oriented material. You go through my stuff, you're going to see something that's relevant. It's not going to be based on rumors. It's not going to be based on beef and drama. It's going to be based on hard data and solution-oriented material. People don't want that.
Right.
That's another ugly truth and a pink elephant in the room. These same people talking about how, it's such a shame these brothers fight with each other. They love that shit.